The story I'm about to tell you is not for the faint-hearted. It's a tale whispered in hushed tones across small towns, passed down from one generation to another, and now, it has reached your ears. This is the story of the Shadow Watcher, a creature of the night, a being of vengeance, and an executioner of the guilty. They say the Shadow Watcher appears only when the bonds of trust have been shattered, when vows spoken in love are broken in betrayal. Those who cheat on their spouses are marked by this entity, though they never realize it, until it's too late. Let me take you to a small, unassuming town nestled in the heart of a dense forest. It was a peaceful place, where everyone knew everyone. At least, it seemed that way on the surface. Beneath the veneer of small-town charm, secrets festered like wounds. Affairs were whispered about in shadows, and betrayals were hidden behind closed doors. One such secret involved a man named Daniel. To the outside world, he was the perfect husband, kind, attentive, and devoted to his wife, Clara. But in reality, Daniel had been living a double life. For months, he had been seeing someone else, sneaking away in the dead of night under the guise of work emergencies. He thought he was clever, that his lies were airtight. But the Shadow Watcher sees everything. It began subtly. Daniel started noticing things he couldn't explain. A shadow that seemed to move independently of its source. The sensation of being watched, even when he was alone. His nights grew restless, vivid nightmares plagued his sleep. In these dreams, a dark, towering figure loomed over him, its glowing red eyes piercing through the darkness. It never spoke, but its presence was suffocating, its intent clear, judgment. One night, as Daniel was driving back from a clandestine rendezvous, he took a shortcut through the forest. The road was deserted, and the only sound was the hum of his car engine. But then, the engine sputtered and died, leaving him stranded in the pitch-black wilderness. He stepped out, cursing under his breath, and tried to call for help. His phone had no signal. That's when he saw it. At first, it was just a silhouette in the distance, barely distinguishable from the trees. But as it moved closer, its features became clear. It was tall, unnaturally so, its body cloaked in shadows that seemed to writhe and shift as though alive. Its face, if you could call it that, was a grotesque void, save for two burning red eyes. Paralyzed with fear, Daniel tried to rationalize what he was seeing. Maybe it was a trick of the light or his imagination running wild. But then, the creature spoke. Its voice was a low, guttural growl, reverberating through the air like a thunderstorm. "Daniel," it said, elongating each syllable. "You have broken the sacred bond. You have betrayed her trust. Justice must be served." Before Daniel could respond, the creature lunged at him. The last thing he remembered was its clawed hand reaching for his chest. When he woke up, he was back in his car, engine running as if nothing had happened. He thought it was a nightmare. But when he got home, he found claw marks on his chest, deep, jagged wounds that throbbed with an unnatural heat. The next few days were a descent into madness. Daniel heard whispers wherever he went, accusing him, taunting him. His reflection in the mirror twisted into the Shadow Watcher's visage, mocking him. He tried to confess to Clara, to come clean about everything, but the words choked in his throat. No matter how hard he tried, he couldn't speak the truth. Eventually, Daniel disappeared. His car was found abandoned on the same forest road, but there was no trace of him. The townsfolk whispered that the Shadow Watcher had claimed another victim. But Daniel wasn't the only one. Stories began to surface, of women and men who had been unfaithful, all meeting similar fates. Some were found dead under mysterious circumstances, their bodies marked with claw-like wounds. Others vanished without a trace. The pattern was undeniable, infidelity was the trigger, and the Shadow Watcher was the enforcer. The legend spread beyond the town, reaching neighboring communities and eventually becoming an urban myth. People began to fear even the thought of betrayal, terrified that the Shadow Watcher would come for them. Some dismissed it as mere superstition, a cautionary tale to keep couples loyal. But those who had encountered the creature knew better. One such person was Emily, a young woman who had been tempted to stray from her marriage. She had met someone at work, someone who made her feel alive in ways her husband no longer did. But before she could act on her feelings, she started experiencing the same signs: shadows moving where they shouldn't, whispers in the wind calling her name, and those dreadful red eyes haunting her dreams. Unlike Daniel, Emily heeded the warnings. She ended her flirtation and confessed everything to her husband. Together, they sought counseling and worked to rebuild their relationship. And just like that, the signs stopped. The Shadow Watcher spared her, for she had chosen to make amends before it was too late. This story serves as a chilling reminder of the consequences of betrayal, not just the pain it causes to loved ones but the darkness it invites into our lives. The Shadow Watcher may be just a legend, but its message is clear: loyalty and trust are sacred, and to break them is to invite judgment. If you were faced with the Shadow Watcher, would you confess your secrets or try to escape? Let me know your thoughts and theories in the comments below.